Welcome to episode 5 of Fact Finders. In this episode, Billy Bob was now getting over Fifi, but he still felt a hollow emptiness in his throat. One day, he went with James, Gigi, and Fifi's driver to pick up Fifi at dance class. That is where he meets Wanda, another 10-year-old child prodigy, and falls instantly in love with her. That is where our story begins. The Fact Finder Episode 5, Case of the Fishy Shower, by Sylvester Scoforru. Billy Bob's hand was still tingling from shaking Wanda's. As James drove them away from the dance studio, he couldn't stop sneaking glances at her in the rearview mirror. She was scrolling through her phone, completely relaxed, while his heart was doing backflips in his chest. So, Wanda? Billy Bob's voice cracked slightly. He cleared his throat. I was wondering if possibly you might want to… Wanna what? Wanda looked up, her dark eyes curious. Go to the park? With me? Like tomorrow? If you're not busy. Which you probably are. You're probably super busy with dance and… I'd love to, Wanda said, smiling. What time? Billy Bob blinked. Wait, really? I mean, great. How about 2 o'clock? At Riverside Park? It's a date, Wanda said, and Billy Bob felt like he might actually faint. From the front seat, James caught Billy Bob's eye in the mirror and gave him a subtle thumbs up. The next afternoon, Billy Bob arrived at Riverside Park 45 minutes early. He'd brought 3 different types of sandwiches because what if she didn't like turkey, 2 bags of chips, a container of fruit salad, cookies, brownies, a thermos of lemonade, another thermos of iced tea, what if she didn't like lemonade, a blanket, sunscreen, bug spray, and a frisbee. Dude, you look like you're preparing for the apocalypse, Fifi had said when she saw him packing that morning. Now, spreading out the blanket under a large oak tree, Billy Bob was starting to think she might have been right. This was too much. Way too much. Wanda was going to think he was a total weirdo. Hey! Wanda's voice made him jump. He spun around so fast he knocked over the thermos of lemonade, which rolled down the small hill they were on. I got it! Billy Bob lunged after it, tripped over the edge of the blanket, and tumbled down the hill himself. He managed to grab the thermos at the bottom, then looked up to see Wanda jogging down toward him, trying not to laugh. Are you okay? She asked, offering him a hand. Totally fine, Billy Bob said, accepting her help up. I meant to do that. Testing the hill's rollability. For science. Wanda burst out laughing. You're funny, Billy Bob. Funny looking, maybe, he muttered, brushing grass off his jeans. No, Wanda said, her expression softening. Just funny. In a good way. They walked back up to the blanket, and Wanda's eyes widened when she saw the spread. Whoa. Did you bring enough food? Billy Bob's face turned red. I didn't know what you like, so I kind of brought everything. That's actually really sweet, Wanda said, sitting down. Most guys wouldn't think that far ahead. They spent the next 2 hours talking, laughing, and eating. Wanda liked turkey, as it turned out, but she also tried all the other sandwiches. Billy Bob attempted to impress her by throwing the frisbee really far, but it sailed into a pond. When he tried to retrieve it by balancing on a log, he fell in. Wanda laughed so hard she snorted, which made her laugh even harder, which made Billy Bob forget all about being embarrassed. As the sun started to set, they lay on the blanket looking up at the clouds. You know what I like about you, Billy Bob? Wanda said. My incredible coordination? Billy Bob joked. You're genuine, Wanda said. You don't try to be someone you're not. That's rare. Billy Bob turned his head to look at her. You want to hang out again? Definitely, Wanda said, meeting his eyes. Over the next 2 weeks, Billy Bob and Wanda became inseparable. They texted constantly, went on more dates, with progressively less food each time, and Billy Bob even attended one of Wanda's dance performances. She was incredible, graceful, powerful, and completely captivating. It was after that performance, when Billy Bob was waiting for Wanda outside the dressing room, that he overheard 2 girls from Theodore Money High School talking. It happened again, one girl said, her voice disgusted. Third time this week. Raw fish just sitting in the shower. It's so gross. Who would do something like that? Her friend replied. And how are they even getting in? The locker room is supposed to be locked after hours. Billy Bob's detective instincts kicked in immediately. When Wanda emerged, he told her what he'd heard. That's been going on for a while, Wanda confirmed. Everyone at school is talking about it. It's always in the girls' shower, always raw fish, usually salmon or tuna, and nobody knows who's doing it or why. That's weird, Billy Bob said thoughtfully. Really weird. You thinking what I think you're thinking? Wanda asked, grinning. That this sounds like a case for the fact finders? Exactly. The next day, Billy Bob called an emergency meeting at Fifi and Gigi's mansion. Twins were in the game room when Billy Bob and Wanda arrived, James having picked them both up. Everyone, this is Wanda, Billy Bob said. Wanda, you know Fifi and Gigi. Hey, the twins said in unison. So, what's this big emergency? Fifi asked, tossing a stress ball in the air. Billy Bob explained the situation at Theodore Money High School. Someone's been putting raw fish in the girls' shower. It's happened at least 3 times, maybe more. Nobody knows who or why. That's disgusting, Gigi said, wrinkling her nose. But also kind of intriguing. I think we should investigate, Billy Bob said. But here's the thing, this case might need someone with special skills. Someone agile who can move quietly, maybe climb or squeeze through tight spaces. He looked at Wanda, who raised an eyebrow. Are you asking me to join the fact finders? She asked. I'm suggesting we could really use your help, Billy Bob said. But it's not just up to me. Fifi and Gigi exchanged glances. Then Fifi stood up. All in favor of Wanda joining the fact finders? Billy Bob's hand shot up immediately. Gigi raised hers too. Fifi raised her own hand. Motion passes unanimously, Fifi declared. Welcome to the team, Wanda. Wanda beamed. When do we start? The investigation began the next morning at Theodore Money High School. Billy Bob had arranged for them to meet with Principal Hendricks, who was more than happy to have the fact finders help. This fish business is driving everyone crazy, Principal Hendricks said, running a hand through his thinning hair. Parents are calling, students are upset, and our custodial staff is threatening to quit. If you can figure out who's doing this, I'll be eternally grateful. Can we see the locker room? Billy Bob asked. Principal Hendricks led them through the school to the girls' locker room. The most recent incident was yesterday morning. The fish was discovered around 7 a.m. by the volleyball team. The locker room was typical, rows of lockers, benches, and a tiled shower area in the back. Billy Bob pulled out his notebook and started taking notes. The fish is always in the same shower? Gigi asked. Third one from the left, Principal Hendricks confirmed. Wanda walked over to the shower stall and examined it carefully. She looked up at the ceiling, then down at the drain. The tiles around this drain are slightly loose, she observed. Billy Bob came over to look. Sure enough, several tiles near the drain were slightly raised. Could someone be coming up through the pipes? Unlikely, James said. He'd insisted on accompanying them for security purposes. Those pipes are far too narrow. What about the windows? Fifi asked, pointing to a row of high windows near the ceiling. Wanda's eyes lit up. Those are interesting. They're open just a crack. Can you reach them? Billy Bob asked. Wanda looked around, then dragged a bench over. She climbed onto it, then onto one of the locker tops. With impressive grace, she pulled herself up to the window level. There are scuff marks here, she called down. On the windowsill. Recent ones. So, someone's been climbing in through the windows, Gigi said. But who? Billy Bob wondered. And why fish? Over the next few days, the fact-finders interviewed everyone they could think of. They talked to the custodial staff, the volleyball team, the swim team, and various students who used the locker room regularly. They learned several interesting facts. The fish was always fresh, not frozen. It appeared between 6 p.m. when the school closed and 7 a.m. when it was discovered. No one had seen anything suspicious. The locker room door was always locked, but the windows were left slightly open for ventilation. Let's list our suspects, Billy Bob said during a meeting at the mansion. He wrote on a whiteboard, Suspects, Marcus Chin, custodian who has keys to everything. Seems annoyed by the extra work. Brittany Walsh, volleyball captain. Found the fish twice. Could be trying to get attention. Coach Patterson, girls volleyball coach. Tricked and demanding. Maybe trying to scare the team. Derek Mills works at the fish market downtown. Goes to Theodore Money High. Known prankster. Derek seems like the obvious choice, Fifi said. He works at a fish market and he's a prankster. Too obvious, Billy Bob said. That's what bothers me. What if it's not a prank? Wanda suggested. What if there's another reason? Like what? Gigi asked. I don't know yet, Wanda admitted. But the pattern is too specific. Same shower, same type of fish, same timing. There's something we're missing. Billy Bob nodded. We need to stake out the locker room. See if we can catch whoever's doing this in the act. Principal Hendricks agreed to let them stake out the school, though he insisted James stay with them for safety. They set up in an empty classroom across from the locker room at 5:30 p.m., just before the school officially closed. This could be a long night, Fifi said, settling into a chair with a bag of chips. I brought cards, Gigi offered. They waited. And waited. 8 p.m., nothing had happened. At 9 p.m., Billy Bob was starting to think they'd wasted their time. Then, at 9:47 p.m., Wanda suddenly sat up straight. Did you hear that? Everyone froze. There was a faint scraping sound coming from the direction of the locker room. Someone's here, Billy Bob whispered. They crept out of the classroom and toward the locker room. The door was still locked, but the scraping sound continued. It was coming from outside the building. The windows, Wanda breathed. They rushed outside and around to the side of the building where the locker room windows were. In the dim light from a nearby street lamp, they could see a figure climbing up the wall toward the windows. Hey! Billy Bob shouted. The figure froze, then started to climb down quickly. But Wanda was faster. She sprinted forward and, using a nearby dumpster as a boost, launched herself at the wall. Her dance training and agility allowed her to scale it with impressive speed. She reached the figure just as they were trying to jump down. "Got you!" Wanda grabbed the person's jacket. James arrived with a flashlight, shining it up at them. The figure's face was revealed. It was Brittany Walsh, the volleyball captain. 20 minutes later, they were all in Principal Hendrick's office. Brittany sat in a chair, looking miserable. Principal Hendricks had been called back to the school, and he looked both relieved and confused. "Brittany," he said, "you're the one who's been putting fish in the showers? But you were the one who found them." "That was the point," Brittany said quietly. "I found them so no one would suspect me." "But why?" Billy Bob asked. "Why would you do this?" Brittany was silent for a long moment. Then she sighed. "Because of Coach Patterson." Everyone exchanged confused glances. "Coach Patterson is really hard on us," Brittany continued. "Like really hard. She makes us practice for hours, yells at us constantly, and nothing we do is ever good enough. Half the team wanted to quit, but we couldn't because she'd make our lives miserable." "So you put fish in the showers?" Gigi asked, still confused. "I was trying to get her fired," Brittany admitted. "I thought if there was a big enough problem in the locker room, something gross and unsanitary that kept happening, the school would have to do something. Maybe they'd investigate her, see how she treats us, and realize she shouldn't be coaching." "Why didn't you just report her behavior?" Principal Hendricks asked gently. "We tried," Brittany said, her voice breaking. "Last year, 3 girls went to the athletic director. Nothing happened. Coach Patterson just got meaner. She said we were being soft and needed to toughen up. I didn't know what else to do." The room fell silent. "Why fish specifically?" Wanda asked softly. Brittany gave a small, sad laugh. "My dad owns a seafood restaurant. I could get fish easily without anyone questioning it. And I knew it would be gross enough that people would take it seriously." Principal Hendricks leaned back in his chair, looking troubled. "Brittany, what you did was wrong. Vandalism is never the answer." "But—" He paused. "I'm also hearing that we failed you and your teammates. That's on us." He looked at Billy Bob and the fact finders. "Thank you for solving this mystery. You've helped us uncover a much bigger problem than fish in showers." 2 weeks later, Billy Bob and Wanda were back at Riverside Park, sitting on their favorite blanket. This time, Billy Bob had brought a reasonable amount of food. "Did you hear?" Wanda asked. "Coach Patterson is gone. They're bringing in a new volleyball coach." "I heard," Billy Bob said. "And Brittany's punishment was community service instead of suspension." Principal Hendricks said he understood why she did it, even if it was wrong. "That's good," Wanda said. "She made a mistake, but her heart was in the right place." Billy Bob nodded, then turned to look at Wanda. "You were amazing during that investigation, you know. The way you climbed that wall caught Brittany. We never would have solved it without you." Wanda smiled. "I like being a fact finder. It's nice to use my skills for something other than dance." "You're officially part of the team now," Billy Bob said. "Which means you're stuck with us." "I can think of worse things to be stuck with," Wanda said, leaning her head on his shoulder. Billy Bob felt his heart do that familiar backflip, but this time he didn't feel nervous. He felt happy. "Hey, Billy Bob?" "Yeah. Thanks for asking me to join," Wanda said. "And thanks for that first date, even though you brought enough food for an army and fell in a pond." Billy Bob laughed. "Thanks for saying yes, even though I'm a disaster." "You're not a disaster," Wanda said, lifting her head to look at him. "You're a detective. And a pretty good one." Then she kissed him on the cheek, and Billy Bob decided that falling in ponds and rolling down hills was totally worth it. The end. We hope you enjoyed another episode of The Fact Finders. Be sure to like and subscribe to SCO's Media YouTube channel for more adventures of The Fact Finders.